tienes que echar los hongos cuando se cocina.
Sí.
Se van a cocinar.
Bienvenidos, everybody. Buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos días, depending where you're at, what time you're watching. We are here for you today, En Casa con la Plaza. En Casa con la Plaza, of course, is our sessions, our virtual sessions on both Zoom and Facebook Live, which bring to you presentations, demonstrations, conversations, and performances. And as you know, on Mondays, cada lunes, it's a special one because we have En Casa con la Plaza Cocina, which are our cooking demonstrations brought to you by some of the greatest chefs, restaurant owners, food historians, to fill you in, to entertain you and educate you on the wide range of Mexican and Mexican-American cuisine that's found not only in Los Angeles, but internationally. And today, to bring you today's guest, we have with us Jimena Martin. Please join us, Jimena.
Gracias, Alvarado. Thank you so much for the introductions. Today we have a very special guest, John Sedlar, considered to be the father of Southwest cuisine by Gourmet Magazine, raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico. His cooking style combines traditional food from his childhood and classic French techniques. John is a restaurateur, cookbook author, James Beard, and La Plaza's Icon de Arte Award winner, y más. John's career has included critically acclaimed restaurants here in Los Angeles, but also in Santa Fe. He has recently retired newly from his restaurant Eloisa, that's named after his grandmother. But he is not slowing down at all. He's here with us today. He's also working with the state dinners, new cookbooks, and also researching New Mexican earliest forms of food origins. And today he's going to be making us a delicious hatch green chili rellenos. John, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, Jimena. Thank you very much. That was a nice introduction. We're having fun here. This is Vilma. Vilma is my assistant today, so she's helping with the chilies and the mushroom duxelle. And I'm retired, as you said, so I haven't been cooking that much. It's very interesting. So this is very fun.
So what you got there going on in the pot, John?
So what I'm going to do is we're cooking a Chile Rellenos, and it's going to be stuffed with a mushroom duxelle. So we are cooking mushroom buttons, white mushroom buttons, and we're going to thicken them with a little cream, white pepper. This is an all white pepper recipe, and then a little bit of flaky salt. So what we've done is we've taken some butter, and then we're going to add more mushrooms. These are white mushroom buttons, sort of like a cremini, but they are they're all chopped up, and they're just going to sweat out the liquids of the mushrooms, and then they'll be ready to put inside the chiles. Vilma here is going to start on some roasted chiles. She's going to blister them. These are the hatch. They're sacred.
I know, in New Mexico, absolutely. And here in Los Angeles, can we find hatch chilies? If so, where? And what, isn't there a specific season to find hatch chilies?
This is the season right now. It's the fall. And in the Hatch Valley, which is in southern New Mexico, there's one company, it's called Melissa's Variety Worldwide Produce. And it's terrific. And they send out the hatch chili to all the corners of the country. They actually send the baskets because people have to buy so much chili in the fall. It's actually a fall harvest, so people buy bushels and they freeze it for the winter. One thing you should remember if you see how Vilma's roasting and blistering these chilies now is that you have to let them cool before you freeze them. Because if you freeze them while they're warm, the seeds will turn brown.
Yeah.
So
But here in California, let's say we're lucky to find some, but we want to make some later, let's say in the spring. Is there an alternative to the hatch chili or any chili to go with this recipe?
Well, that's a good question, and there is just no comparison to hatch. You know, in New Mexico, we're very, very proud of our chili harvest. And what one farmer has right next door to another farmer, he might have more water, he might get a little bit more sun, his soil might be a little bit more fertile. So everyone's very proud of the chilies that they grow. They're very unique. So, but in answer to your question, we have a couple of plates of chilies here. This is the red cayenne, very, very spicy. We have, of course, the jalapeno, which I love. The serrano's very good. Poblanos are very, very wonderful. Tip and very, very dark green. These ones here look like a substitute chili that's not very spicy, which is called the Anaheim. And there's also Big Jims out there. And we're only talking right now really about fresh chilies. These are the great Padron Spanish chilies, or Japanese, they're shishitos. These are a very good chili that's good for color, and they taste like bell peppers, Fresnos. They look a little bit like jalapenos, but they're very mild Fresnos. And you know these are really wonderful. These are very tropical, and they have a lot of citrus in them. They're ultra spicy. There's a salsa from the Yucatan. These originally came from the Yucatan in the Caribbean. There's a salsa from there called Schnipek. It's an Olmec word, which means dog's nose. And they're so spicy that your nose waters like a dog's.
See, that's the stuff I like our conversations, John. You always go back to the indigenous roots where things come from, language, culture. But hey, I had some people who been reaching out to us. They said they bought some at Trader Joe's last week.
Right.
And then also 30 pounds at Albertsons for $30. So for those, call your Albertsons, call your Trader Joe's, and find these beautiful hatch chilies. Prepare them as John is explaining us, let them cool, and then you can freeze them and have them all year round. And if we've run out, John gave us some really wonderful alternatives for the chilies.
Well, there's, I know Melissa's, that's wholesale. So we as consumers can't go in the store, but Melissa's will sell them to grocery stores. I know that Bristol Farms does a very large presentation. What Vilma's going to do now is she's going to take a nice clean paper bag and put the chiles inside. She's charred the skin, and we're just going to cover it and leave it for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then we're going to take them out and peel them. And the mushrooms are cooking. You can see the liquid, how it's actually quite a bit of liquid. It sweats. And it'll all be absorbed and it'll evaporate. And then we'll add some cream to bind the duxelle. Duxelle is a puree of mushrooms that are bound by cream and seasoned with salt and pepper. And it's just a beautiful, delicious accompaniment to the chili. Now these chilies, Chile Rellenos, are one of my favorite dishes. But they're very unhealthy. They have all that egg on the outside that acts as a sponge. It absorbs the oil. And then on top of that, the whole chile is stuffed with cheese. And chefs are getting very creative now. They're starting to put different flavored cheeses, Gruyere, authentic Mexican cheeses, French cheeses, even blue cheeses, or chèvre, goat cheeses. So very, very creative. But what we've done with this chili, we've stripped away the outer coating. And Vilma right now is going to sort of make a little door to each chili. She's going to take a sliver. Can I show them, Vilma? Let's see. I'm going to take the tabla. You can see here that these chilies have been roasted and they've been peeled. That black part is the skin, and it's just delicious. I always like to leave a little extra of the skin. And then at the very top, of course, are the veins and the seeds. Leave some of those too. They're really super spicy. So then there would be a slit down the chili, open it up like a door, and then we're going to season it and stuff it with mushroom duxelle.
You know what's really nice about those mushrooms? They really make a nice vegetarian option because the Duxelles, when you cook them down with the cream, they are kind of meaty-like, kind of filling on top with
Yes.
the cheese. Add another layer to the complexity of the dish.
Absolutely. And we as human beings, we didn't take all the cheese away. We love that sort of rich mouthfeel with this dish right here. So we make a goat cheese sauce, and we're going to do a reduction of white wine and garlic. The mushrooms are cooking. You want to show them how to cut a slit and take the seeds out?
While we are preparing that, we have greetings from Gloria Huerta, greetings from North Hollywood, from her Mexi-Vegan kitchen. Greetings from Tucson, Susan Silvertooth.
Perfect.
Yes, and also we have one of our panels asking, next time when you show Duxelles after you put the wine, if you can be so kind to show it up to the camera. It's a little look, we can see exactly what texture, what we're looking for when people at home prepare this.
You can see here that there's still, is that high enough?
Yes, perfect, thank you.
They're still very wet. There's lots of liquid in there. So all that's going to evaporate and get consumed and just get a very concentrated essence of mushrooms.
Okay.
And of course, it's very embarrassing for a chef when he doesn't cook fast enough so that they're ready by the time the cooking demo ends. Otherwise, we have sort of a disjointed dish.
We also have greetings, a lot of greetings, John. We miss you here in Los Angeles. Gigi Becker also says, hi, chef from Los Angeles.
Oh, good. Hi, Gigi.
Sherman Oaks, Gar Lee also as well. So we miss you, John. So when we're going to have you back in Los Angeles?
Yes, we should have some fun out there. Boy, the food is just, the chefs are so creative. And, you know, Mexican food is just exploding. And Mexican-American food, it's just exploding. Even Tejano Mexican food in Los Angeles is exploding. And one of the things that's going along with that style is that flour tortillas. Because from Mexico, we really focus on corn tortillas. But the advent of Tejano cuisine, lots and lots of flour tortillas.
Yeah, we actually worked with KCRW. They had a tortilla fest. We had a corn and a flour tortilla, mano a mano per se. Yeah. And I think, what was it? Casa, Tacos Maria. For best corn taco, and then Sonora. Sonora won for their beautiful flour tortillas. They actually bring in their flour in from Sonora.
Okay. Where flour really tastes like wheat flour.
Yes.
Can't always find that here. Look at this. This is just, we're sweating the garlic. We're not going to get any color on it. This is for the garlic chèvre, the garlic goat cheese sauce. So we're just stirring it with a little butter. And we're going to add white wine to it. We're going to reduce that by half, and then we're going to fold in the goat cheese. Garlic is a classic accompaniment to chiles here.
So we have a question about the chilies. This says, Susan is saying, this is a wonderful demo. Do you use the same green chilies for green enchilada salsa?
Well, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't call it a salsa. I think that generally, from my experience, salsas are salsas de mesa. And usually they're table sauces that are with crisp tomatoes and onions, cilantro, lime or vinegar, lots of chiles. How would you say that, Mom? Red chili sauce. Chile rojo salsa. That's interesting.
¿Salsa de chile rojo?
Chile rojo or chile verde. Salsa. I wouldn't call it a salsa. I'd call it a sauce. But what is the Spanish correlation, Ximena?
Una salsa de mesa, una salsa para la comida, la salsa para el pollo. I have another greetings here, John. Gloria Mejia from the Autry says hello.
Oh, good. Wonderful. We did a party for the Autry Museum here in Santa Fe. That was really wonderful. Boy, that museum is looking beautiful. They're really doing extraordinary things there. So we're going to take white wine and add it to the garlic and then reduce that by half. You can see here that Vilma is being very careful to not touch the veins too much. Of course, this is the door, and it opens up from side to side. And then at the top, see, I told her to leave some seeds for a little vida, a little spice. But she took them all out. Anglo's like all the seeds out. Latinas like half the seeds in. A little more vida there. So the cola is still there, and then the chili, you can fill it with anything depending on seasonality. And the one thing to remember is definitely add salt on the interior, inside the doors.
John?
Yes?
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started cooking, who influenced you?
Well, I'm in Santa Fe now, and I went to high school here, and the first chef that I worked with was at a restaurant not too far from here, and his name was Jean Frigo. He was French, didn't speak English, and his name translates to John Refrigerator. So he was, and him and his wife Eliana ran a magnificent restaurant, and he really trained me in the techniques of the French kitchen. And it was a very interesting menu because on one side were continental dishes with European influence, and the other side were traditional dishes, classics from the Southwest. But they didn't mix. Fusion hadn't been invented yet. And so a couple of years later, we started mixing ingredients with those techniques. And so that was born here in Santa Fe. Santa Fe's always been a food center in the Southwest. And there's a very, I think we were talking about it a little earlier, there's a very large Asian influence in the restaurants. The chefs, there's an incredible spa here called 10,000 Waves, and they've installed an incredible restaurant called Izunami. So you can go and have a spa, you could go into the tubs, they're all outdoors, so you're amongst the chamisa, you put on a terry cloth robe, you go sit in the dining room on tatami mats, everybody in a row at your table, and everybody has a sake, a flight of sake, and then a good 12-course kaiseki dinner. For some reason, it's very New Mexican. It's just, it's very, very Santa Fe to have a global menu like that. Santa Fe is very global.
When I was reading up a little bit on you, tell me about your Aunt Jerry, who she was.
Oh, yes. My Aunt Jerry was, first my grandmother Eloisa was a very good cook here in Santa Fe, working for private, in private homes. Then she worked in hotels, and she had a very good reputation, Eloisa, of cooking very good New Mexican dishes and being a very good cook. Her sister, because all the family are from Abiquiu, was and also a very good cook and was the cook of George O'Keeffe. So, but I want to show you this. See, all the liquids have been absorbed, and now it's just a pure concentration of mushrooms. And we're going to add a little cream. and it will bind it. It'll make it really, really thick. And we're going to add some French flat salt, finishing salt. And this is an all white pepper chile, so we're going to add white pepper also.
Speaking of chiles, Irma Montes says that after she roasted her chilies, they tend to be mushy and fall apart. What did I do wrong?
That's a very good question, and the answer is that there's too much heat, that she's cooking them too slow. You have to put them in a high flame and char the skin, surprise the skin, and then after you put it in a bag, the skin separates. The steam separates the skin from the flesh. A really, really good way to aesthetically cook these chilies is to deep fry them. You deep fry them, drop them in frying temperature oil, then you drop them into an ice bath, and they come out very, very vibrant, very, very fleshy. But if you don't cook them fast enough, it just cooks the flesh. And also if they're overripe, the flesh converts some of the starches into sugars, and they just don't cook correctly. I think we're going to have our duxelle in time to stuff that.
We have time. We have some time.
Good.
Any other cookbooks? I think at work when we left for COVID, I took as much as I could, and then I didn't think about it to take your tamale book.
Yes, that's we wrote with Stephen Piles and Mark Miller, and we're working on a Georgia O'Keeffe book. Slowly but surely, what she put on her table, how she entertained, what she grew in her gardens, the animals, the fromageries that she would visit in northern New Mexico. So Aunt Jerry was her cook and her companion, and would help her harvest. She was excellent at drying herbs. She had an herb room that she would hang bunches of herbs from the ceiling. After every meal in the summertime, she would have a pot of mint tea. So she would gently clean not hoja santa, hierba buena. Clean it, pat it dry between paper towels, and then stuff a teapot and just add boiling water. And then have a natural tea. It was spectacular. We did, at last, I retired after 50 years in the kitchen. 50.
That's a good run.
50 was fun. It was very fun. And they had a nice little retirement party and gave me a gold measuring spoon. Not a gold watch, a gold measuring spoon. So you can see that the mushrooms are absorbing the cream, and as it cools, it'll just get very, very dense. And I'm going to add cream to the reducing white wine. So it's so interesting that, that I was saying that, where the chilies are from, they impart terroir, they impart flavor. Also, they know now that terroir is influenced by the people who take care of the plants. It's part of the overall environment. And there's so interesting that you can taste, besides the char on the hatch chilies, you can also taste the soil. It's got a unique flavor of where it grows. There's a new ingredient that's on the market, and it's Escargo Roe. It's the eggs of the snails. And it's like the salmon roe, which would be the eggs of the fish, but it's from the earth. So when you eat this white escargot roe, it tastes like soil and leaves and herbs and things that a snail would crawl around in, as the fish eggs would taste of the ocean. And that's how these chilies are from Hatch. You can, there's a very distinct flavor to them that's unmatched. And here, our longest sort of commercial street here in Santa Fe is called Cerrillos Road. And on both sides of the street, there are these large baskets with bushels of chilies in them rotating, imparting this extraordinary aroma throughout Santa Fe. So as you go down Cerrillos Road and the roasters are on both sides, it's just ethereal how you feel. It's something that happens every year that we all look forward to.
I can't wait to go back to Santa Fe. I was there for the International Folk Art Show, which was beautiful. All the arts and crafts from around the world. Just fell in love and just need to go back when things are safe. I have a question from Susan Silvertooth asking, can we use regular milk instead of cream?
It's hard. It doesn't have the butter fat and it doesn't bind. But maybe if you put it in the bowl. The new way to eat now is in bowls. In Los Angeles, your city is really sort of the center of the largest food event on the planet. Every year they have something called Food Bowl. And it's a global food tasting. Like everything else in Los Angeles, it's global. And so if you would take one of those bowls and put a lighter sauce, because this one's gonna solidify. Of course, this is only 23% butter fat, so it takes a little time. Excuse me, this is for the consumer. In the restaurant, we use 43% butter fat. And it never
It's so much better when we go out to eat than we try to replicate at home sometimes. You guys get the extra fat, extra good stuffs.
I think there's one store called Smart and Final. I think they're the only ones that have it. It's called manufacturing cream. And you have to buy it by the half gallon manufacturing cream. But it's fantastic. It's so rich and has such depth of flavor. So Vilma's gonna adjust this up? Okay, so we're gonna just open the door. So we're gonna open the door here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and we're gonna add this salt on the inside. Very, very important. And then we're just going to fill it with duxelle, and we're going to put the seam down. Yes, Javier. So also in the sauce, we're going to add the goat cheese now. Laura Chanel was so terrific. She was the first to do artisanal French-style cheeses in the United States. So we've taken the chili, and we've opened the doors and added the mushroom duxelle, and it'll just bind, and we're going to put the seam down so you can see what looks like a whole chili. We're going to add about 5 ounces of goat cheese. The more pungent, the better.
I worked with John earlier, like in 2012. We were so fortunate to receive a huge grant to start off our garden culinary program at La Plaza that teaches children the origins of food, healthy eating, being mindful. And for the big kickoff, my boss at the time was like, you need to find someone who speaks that history of food and culture. And John had just opened up Playa, I think, and I was calling the restaurant, emailing, calling, and then we happened to have a book signing with the taco book. It's the Gustavo Arellano. He gave a book talk at Plaza, and so I'm waiting there, listening, talk, and then who do I see who walks in? Mr. John Sedlar. And I remember chasing you down. And I'm like, you have not returned my calls. Where are you? And I just remember you saying, okay, let me listen to the book talk and then we'll talk. And then you would break came out, business card, personal emails, and then you were so wonderful to open up our garden culinary program for our children, for our family day, which is absolutely free. Those classes are still free. Look for us. We're right now in the middle of doing virtual filming for the fall. But you give a beautiful talk of the origins, the importance of knowing our roots and our food. And you brought your team in and provided a beautiful demo for our public. And I always remember, be very thankful for you to come in with your team and kick off our garden culinary program, which is award-winning. California Association of Museums nominated and won. And it was just great. And it was one of my favorite days we had at Plaza. Thank you for that.
That's terrific. And it's so beautiful out there around the garden. With the children, and they're so enthusiastic and want to know so much about cooking. And you brought up a while ago the tortillas florales. And tortillas are sort of the workhorse of the Mexican kitchen. And we double them and we eat lots of them. But when you see it, because in Mexico, they're such admirers of color and composition and design, and you take the staple of life, the tortilla, and then add these beautiful flowers to it, they turn into art. And the kids just get such a kick out of it. They just can't believe that they're eating flowers.
At 8 a.m., we had a reception for emerging Latino museum professionals, and we held it at Plaza in 2010. We hadn't really officially opened yet. And you catered for us. And I think that's the first time I saw beautiful handcrafted tortillas, flowers, and my first taste of mezcal. Had great bartenders that night. And that's what really opened my eyes to how many ways we can drink mezcal. It was a gorgeous evening.
It's a terrific beverage. It's just getting better and better. It's getting very expensive. And but there is a new one. Ron Cooper is the sort of the premier producer of high quality mezcal. La calientes, por favor, en el horno. And he's actually creating a new one. He had started one called pechuga, which means breast, I think.
Yes.
Pechuga. And so it's with a chicken breast, and actually during distillations in the jungles of Oaxaca, places a chicken breast. And the fat just sort of dribbles in as it melts. And now he's starting on a new one called Conejo. I think it's very imaginative. And, so you can see the goat cheese sauce has really thickened. And so we can still enjoy some of that rich mouthfeel with the chile. ¿Quieres sacar los chiles aquí y los ponemos en un plato? Sí. Y después pelamos los chiles esos. So we had a very good experience. I told you about Jean Frigo, the French chef. And the French never really warmed up to our cuisine. The spicy green chili, the spicy red chili. And we always got the sense that it was a second-class cuisine. And a very wonderful thing happened a couple of years ago, and I was invited to take a crew of Latinos and Latinas, pastry chef. We also took our garden to Bordeaux, France. And we got to show off our Latin foods, our Southwestern foods. California is the Pacific Southwest. So all the foods from the missions in Bordeaux. And they really warmed up to those flavors. They actually paired it with their incredible Bordeaux wines. All the first grows, the Lafittes, the Moutons, the Margots, the Latours, and would be eating New Mexico chili. So it was very, very satisfying. We had gone full circle to being sort of on a very abrupt cuisine, but now the cuisine is shoulder to shoulder. Mexican American, South American, it's shoulder to shoulder with the other great cuisines of the world.
Absolutely. I happened to be in Paris 2 years ago, and there's only so much duck and meat and Bordeaux you can have. And then like halfway through, I had some Mexican food. And we were lucky, we found this little place, Shalam, 12 seats. And this Mexican woman from Sonora, she went to Paris to go study, fell in love with an Italian man, and then they opened up this amazing little Mexican restaurant where I could actually find like fresh jalapenos, a margarita. She handmade her tortillas.
She did?
She did. Yeah, so we went back twice just to have a taste of home. So it's out there.
So Vilma is, she's taken out the chiles. They're stuffed with duxelle. We're going to put a little bit of the goat cheese on the plate, but then we'll sort of at the really the star of the show will be a absolutely fresh hatch chili, the king of chilies. With no breading, simple chili, a beautiful flavor of the Hatch Valley, Laura Chanel goat cheese sauce.
Delicious.
So it should be. There was a movement called Nouvelle Cuisine, and I'm very definitely a disciple of Nouvelle Cuisine. Early 70s through the 80s, and there were commandments that when you change from Escoffier to, and this is what's happening to Mexican food now. It's not, Mexican food is so popular and so delicious that people think it's permeating the whole globe, and it is, but it's really the globe that's impacting Mexican food, and it's all the techniques of the tropical vinaigrettes and marinades from the Far East, and it's East European styles of searing meats and things, and South American influences into the Mexican kitchen. And they're very healthy. They're very beautiful. They're very satisfying. The food's very, very nourishing and nutritious. It's very expensive food. People think that Mexican food doesn't cost a lot, but when you're buying good ingredients, lots of vegetables. Mexican food and California cuisine are very similar, very fresh, very healthy.
And we also need to celebrate. Oops, I'm sorry. We also need to celebrate the contributions of the Americas that goes out to Europe. You know, the tomato, the chili, the potato, all those things that are indigenous to America, to celebrate them. You know, all that came from here, came here from the Americas.
Very, very interesting. It's a very flavorful kitchen. ¿Quieres una bite? See, we're gonna have a bite. ¿Quieres una bite? Okay, let's see. Okay.
Yeah, for those who are watching, we do have the recipe to share. We will email folks out so they can replicate this delicious recipe at home. And if you don't have a hatch chili, John gave beautiful alternatives to the pasilla chili, Anaheim chilies.
Poblano or Anaheims are very good, yes.
John, we have a question here, or at least a comment, that he did not say anything about chilies going into the oven as far as the temperature, how long they stay in there.
Actually, everything on the dish is, everything is already cooked. The chili's cooked, the sauce is hot, ready to be put right on the plate before, right after it comes out. The mushrooms are cooked and hot, so it's merely to warm them in there. 5 to 10 minutes. You'll see a little steam coming up off the chilies. Very nice. It's a great party or a group of guests for dinner that can, it's very easy to do in advance, do it in the afternoon. And you can stuff anything you want to with lobster, shrimp, crab, a mirepoix of vegetables, not a dessert chili unless you make a chili chocolate sauce, and it'd be like a mole with this green chili. Stuffed with rice would be very nice.
You're making me hungry.
So let's try it. Let's see. I'm going to try to eat it without a I need a knife.
Well, thanks to all who have asked questions, made comments. And now let's enjoy with John.
So a little bit of goat cheese sauce. The chili makes all the difference. I would try one at home. Go out to the market and buy a half dozen. The recipe serves 6. And great al fresco dish, summertime. California must be beautiful now.
It's super hot, John. It's like we're in the middle of a heat wave. We're like 101, I think, right now.
I heard the hottest temperature in the world today was in Death Valley. But that was on BBC, and they only gave the temperature in centigrade. I didn't know what it was in Fahrenheit.
It was recorded at 130, the highest temperature ever recorded in history.
There are some chilies that are at 130 degrees that we try to stay away from. I like a neutral hotness. The Hatch chili can be very hot. It can be very, very hot. Or you could get a batch of a dozen and only one is super hot. And the other ones are sort of mild. So they're a little chancy.
You've inspired me to go look for the chilies. I'm going to go to Trader Joe's, Albertsons. A coworker here says she's going to go buy a bushel or 2. So I'm going to test drive your recipe over the weekend. But thank you so much for sharing.
No, thank you so much.
See you. Please let us know when you're in Los Angeles. Maybe I can replicate the recipe for you at home. So good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. That was very, very fun. Thank you, Vilma. Very tasty.
Muchas gracias, Vilma. Muchas gracias, John.
Gracias,
Yes, we
Vilma.
have people.
Gracias.
¿Qué dice, Vilma?
Ok, gracias a ustedes.
Nuestro placer. Muchas gracias. Well, we had Dorit Trent viewing from Oklahoma, Linda Torres from Phoenix, Arizona, not too far from you. We had from the OC, Kristen Love. Maria Reina tells us that a friend of hers went by Nuevo Mexico last year. She gave her some Hatch chilies, and they're delicious.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about
everybody's buying their winter supply. They're stocking up.
There you go. And you gave us some example how to store them, right? And what's the best way to store them again, please?
To freeze them. They freeze very, very well. They just have to be cooled before they're put in baggies and then in the freezer. But they hold well, and you can make a soup. Ximena was asking about a green chili stew or a broth are very, very good, or on fish or meats are delicious. Very tasty.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Just a side note, this entire program has been recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel, which is at La Plaza LA. You could also check it out on our webpage, laplazala.org. We had earlier in our sessions, Maite Gomez Rejon, who did do a demonstration on flour tortillas. So notice.
Oh, good.
So you could check that out there as well, along with all of our La Plaza Cocina recipes, demonstrations. We suffer here because we can't actually taste it, but hey, we're doing okay.
It's coming up. You're going to have such fun when Cocina opens. It's going to be so terrific.
Well, thank you so much. And that just a little reminder that, yes, we are in the process of building out La Plaza Cocina, which Jimena will be doing the culinary programming for. That's located right across the street from La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, not on the Olvera Street side, but the Spring Street side. Presently being constructed. We just put up some signage there the other day. So looking forward for next year, 2021. Now, if you're looking forward to future En Casa con La Plaza sessions, we have this Wednesday, collecting community history with representatives from the Arte and representatives from La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, talking about how museums, they're reaching out to the community for their collections, for exhibitions, including the Arte's, the West during COVID-19, and a Black Lives Matter protest in the West collections. And La Plaza is doing one on, we did one on Afro-Latinidad, and we're in the process of forming an exhibition on the Chicano moratorium. This Friday, the return of Dan Guerrero with his happy hour with his guest Alberto B. Dominguez, who's the director of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, but he's also the founder of Honor 14, Honor 41, an online nonprofit that promotes positive Latinx LGBTQ plus images. And then finally, next week, on La Plaza, En Casa con La Plaza Cocina, we have Lucy Thompson Ramirez from Pez Cantina, who will be demonstrating shrimp and avocado salad and a cocktail.
Wow. Sounds appetizing.
It does sound appetizing. It sounds delicious. Again, please, we'd like to thank all of you who tuned in today. Our sponsors, SoCal Gas and the California Humanities and National Endowment, as part of the CARES Act. If you'd like to be part of our family, think about becoming a member, and I'll go ahead and add our link right there in the chat so you could become a member of La Plaza. That helps us with our programming and helps us out when we open back up to fund all of these wonderful exhibitions and programs that we have. I know that you're not tired of online presentations. We also feature on our website, La Plaza Comunidad, which are other partner organizations, including the Arte, LA County Museum of Art, and other smaller organizations that are doing virtual programmings to keep you entertained and educated. And it's called La Plaza Comunidad. And I'm gonna go ahead and add that link on our chat as well. And that pretty much does it for us today. Thank you again, Jimena. Thank you again, John.
Thank you, Everaldo. And
thank you all.
Mr. Sedlar.
Thank you all. So good to see you guys.
Nos vemos pronto. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Adiós, Vilma.
Adiós. Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you.